In chapter 6 of this small book of Micah in the Bible, Micah the prophet asks the people of Israel, "With what shall I come before the Lord and bow down before the exalted God? Shall I come before the Lord with burnt offerings, with calves a year old? Will the Lord be pleased with thousands of rams, with 10,000 rivers of oil? Shall I offer my firstborn child for my transgression, the fruit of my body for the sin of my soul?" Micah's question is one all of us ask at some point in our lives. And I want to encourage you to ask it right now, tonight, before graduating and starting to fill your life with busyness, fun, and craziness. Ask this question: what does God require of me in this world in which I live? What does He require of each one that claims His name? Whether you consider yourself a Catholic or a Protestant, an evangelical or an Orthodox, if you claim the name of Christ, if Christian is your title, what exactly does God want from you? How does He want you to live in this world? Micah asked this question, and then God answered it for him. His answer is in verse 8 of chapter 6, and it's your final lesson. Listen well and take notes, I guess, if you want to, because I guarantee that you will be tested on this later in life. Verse 8 says, "He," meaning God, "has showed you, O man and woman, what is good. And what does the Lord require of you?" Here's the answer: to act justly, and to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God. You know, our friends in public school are often criticized for teaching kids to pass the test. Tonight, I want to teach you to pass the test. The question Micah was asking the Israelites, and the question I think God asks each of us that call themselves a Christian, is this: if we claim to love and follow God, does it show in how we live our lives in front of others? And to answer that question in your life, I want us to look at the following things: what it means to act justly, love mercy, and walk humbly with God. So let's look closely at each of these three pieces that God says are requirements and are good. First, let's unpack this idea of acting justly. Acting justly. Acting justly means that when faced with decisions of right and wrong, convenience or doing the right thing, cutting corners or getting the job done, cheating others to save a penny or being honest, when faced with these choices, and you will be, you will always do what is just and right and proper. Doing the right thing will not always make you popular with the chicks, and it will not get you invited to parties probably, but it will gain you the reputation of being the person that others can turn to when they need someone to rely upon. Acting justly means that when faced with a tough decision, you will be fair and just with yourself and with others and with the God you claim you know. You will do what is right, not what feels good, looks good, gets you what you want, or saves you pain. You do what is right, regardless of the cost. Maybe this doesn't need to be said, but why wouldn't a person do what's right? You probably know as well as I do that we live in a world that is led by its passions and by its appetites, not by its sense of morals. We care more about feeding our desires and getting what we feel we deserve than doing what is right. But that is not what God says is right and necessary. God is a God of justice, and His justice is not blind. He expects us to reflect His justice in the world around us. And that means that we will not just do what is right when faced with a choice, but that we will also seek out ways to do what is right in the world around us. Where we see injustice and wrong, we will seek to make it right. We will act justly. This isn't nuclear science or chemistry, the only subject I failed in high school. When God tells us to act justly, He wants us to do the right thing every time. And this fits well with our second lesson on loving mercy. This word mercy in the Bible is the Hebrew word hesed. Hesed. You'll find it translated hundreds of times in the Old Testament as mercy or sometimes loving kindness. Basically, it means to love or care for a person who is needy and requires special kindness because of their low station in society. We see it in people who give of their time and energy to serve at soup kitchens or at homeless shelters. We see it in people like Mother Teresa, who sacrificed her life for the lepers of India, the downcast of Indian society. We find hesed in the volunteers for the Peace Corps, who give the prime parts of their life to build water wells in Africa or train farmers in China to plant renewable resources. We see it in missionary teachers in the denomination that I'm a part of, the Christian and Missionary Alliance. Right now, there's a whole new crop of young teachers who are planning on giving the first years of their new teaching careers to travel to the Appalachians in southern western Virginia, where there will be no accolades and no praises for these teachers. They'll not be given the new computers or the best multimedia to teach with. The children that they will teach will come from alcoholic families, sometimes